What's up, YouTube? This is Shaylin with 8-Bit Co-op, and I am here with another episode of Pillars of Eternity. And in the last episode, we completed looking through the village.
I shall.
And we are... we're gonna go and make sure that the dwarf Animancer from the tree is indeed dead, because she sure popped up in our dreams, didn't she? So we are going to go ahead and head to that direction and make sure that her hanging was complete. So let me first of all find where... Oh, we need to be over here. I mean, they couldn't have built the village any more confusing now, could they? It's like driving the DC Strip or something, you know? You got 6 lanes of highway and they're all going different ways. Okay, so here is the Animancer. She's all glowy and stuff. Caldara de Berenzi. The squat, distended body of an elderly dwarf woman dangles from a thin, crooked bow that sags at the tug of her noose. The bloated purple flesh of her neck, worn away in patches like moth-eaten linen, bulges over the rope that suspends her. And her lifeless head lolls forward rigidly from one side to the other when the breeze shifts. You perceive a faint glow around her that casts no light on its surroundings, but there is a tepid warmth to it, and you feel somehow that you could reach out and touch it. Not with your hands, but with some aspect of yourself that has no worldly dimension. You know, it's risky and we don't know what's going to happen, so sure, let's reach out for it. You take a deep breath, clearing your mind, focusing on your objective. As you exhale, you feel yourself spreading out towards the hanging woman, perceiving all that lies between you and her with new, unfamiliar awareness. Once you have expanded enough to reach her, there is a sudden jolt to your mind, a ringing, electric surge of images and words and sounds. Involuntarily, you shut your eyes and feel yourself being pulled down to some deeper consciousness in a space occupied only by you and the hanging woman. And when you open them again, she is staring at you with eyes clouded in a milky fog, her body still swaying in a wind you no longer feel from a tree that stands planted in a misty void. The woman gives a slow nod of her head, the rope creaking as she does so, and she smiles at you. That would be creepy. I'm just saying.
Have you come here for me, dear? Or have you gotten lost? Ah, it is both, I think. Yes?
How are you able to speak to me?
Is that what we're doing? Perhaps it just seems that way. Perhaps it is the easiest way for your mind to make sense of it. I think it is a very good choice.
I think I survived a bivouac. Do you know why that would be?
Did you now, dear? My, that would be something, wouldn't it? Could be luck, could certainly be. A storm can be a careless thing. Or maybe it got its hands around your soul but couldn't pick it up. A soul can be heavy if it stayed in one piece through its time. Strong souls, we call them in the trade. Cold, I mean. Called them. Those days are all behind me, no?
You said souls break apart over time?
Oh, yes. Entropy. Rimagan's work. We know little of why or how. We lose pieces of ourselves when we die, and pick up pieces of others when we are born again. But less than what we lost. We tried to stop it with the animantic sciences, but with little success. No. A very small few resist Rimergan's influence and stay together through some force of defiance, at least for a time. But they all succumb eventually, I think.
I want to know something about you.
Me? I'll bore you to tears, though.
Who are you?
And here I thought you'd come to visit me in particular. Caldara de Baranzi, of the Valian Royal Academy of Animantic Sciences. Not the greatest of their number, but I came here all the same because this was where help was needed.
What is an animancer?
A student of the soul. Something so basic, yet so poorly understood. But so many breakthroughs have been made in my lifetime. Had been. To hear the locals tell it, we're a gang of soul manglers that preys upon the weak-minded. And the worst of us are. But the best of us? The best? Inspirations. Miracle workers. My parents were soul twins. Miserable before they met, empty inside. It was an animancer who helped one find the other, turned their lives around. You wouldn't believe the stories. Amnesiacs helped to remember their lives. The suicidal brought back from the brink of oblivion. The elderly afforded extra moments to say their goodbyes. How soon we forget when we're afraid. It's a fascinating science. A fascinating time to be alive in a place like Deerwood that does not control the research, no? I love the Valian Republics for many things, but their recent caution will leave them behind, I fear.
What happened to you? She laughs, a rasping, choked cackle escaping between rows of buttery yellow teeth, causing her body to bob up and down with each spasm. Seeing your blank expression, she catches herself.
Oh, come now. Such a question. As though the answer were plain as a rope tied for strangling. Allow an old dwarf her last bit of cheer. Well, I came where I was needed, didn't I? Offered my services to Lord Radric for a pittance. A humble pittance. I was to examine the Lord's wife, see why the gods have seen fit to poison her womb. Studied her for months, looked high and low for impurities, tested her valence, the permeability of her essence. Do you know what I found?
Tell me.
Nothing at all. A healthy woman, head to toe, blessed with a beautiful soul. Such a sweet woman, too. Meek, but warm-hearted. A few months' time, and the lord of the house demanded answers. For a time, I told him what he wanted to hear. Oh, yes, my lord, she is riddled with imbalances. I must have time to cure her. As the birth drew near, he grew impatient, as lords do. And this is where I've ended up.
I had other questions.
Of course, dear.
I need to understand something that's happened to me. She nods, a look of pity on her face, as though consoling a child.
The world looks a little different than it used to, is that it? Feels like you're noticing things for the first time that have always been there?
She nods.
You have seen past the shroud. It only takes an instant. Your soul remembers, yes? Remembers how it sees when it leaves the body, like being reminded of a dream you had forgotten. You are a watcher now, and a watcher you will stay.
What's a watcher?
What indeed? Long hours have many animancers spent studying such things. Not I, though. Not I. I'll tell you what I know, though, since fair is fair. And here we are, visiting, you and I, and it reminds me of better times. Souls pass on. Some say through Audra stones, which are the blood veins of the world. They leave the world for a time and are reborn into it, sometimes more than they were before, but usually less and seldom the same. For all souls there is a time where they do not live, yet have not passed on, and those souls roam the world, same as you or I, either leaving or lost. But no one sees them because they have forgotten how. A watcher sees, though, knows what to look for. And sometimes they know a person just by looking at them, know where they've been in ages past when their bodies were other bodies. See memories even their owner can't recall. A wonder to behold when all goes well. A wonder!
What do you mean when all goes well?
Oh, nothing to be afraid of, I'm sure. It's just much to take in for some. Sometimes there's trouble sleeping or other difficulties.
She smiles at you reassuringly, fanning out a tuft of long whiskers that sprouts from one of her cheeks.
You should see old Meerwald. He could tell you much more than I. A watcher just like you. Helped many in his day. Took up in an old keep no one would claim. Not far, not far. Kadnua, beyond the Black Meadow. He will welcome the company.
Farewell.
Goodbye, my dear. It was lovely visiting.
Caldara closes her eyes and her head slumps forward over the noose, and your surrounding seems to bleed into your vision from some unknown place of waiting. Aloth looks at you through narrowed eyes. Are you all right? You seemed lost just now. Yes, I'm fine. He folds his arms. That's good to know, but I don't suppose you could tell me what that was all about. I'm a watcher. His arched eyebrows recede into his hood. Well, that is interesting. He gives you a sly grin, and I expect that explains how you survived a bivouac, In any case, I appreciate your honesty. Since we're traveling together, it's probably wise for us to share these things. Do you know anything about Watchers? Only that they're rare, and that they seem to have unique insights into certain soul conditions. He coughs, just as you just demonstrated. Let's continue on.
17 and a half.
17 and a half. 17 and a half. The smell of pipe smoke, at once earthly and sweet, winds its way into your nostrils. Your eyes trace the smoke to its origin, where you find a broad man with straw-colored hair leaning against a mossy rock wall, his pipe held to his lips with one meaty hand. He looks you directly in the eye, but the look is not aggressive. He regards you with a peculiar smirk.
17 and a half. Well, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman.
I'm sorry?
The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta.
What are you talking about?
The people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway.
Alof frowns. Is that what you people do for fun around here?
Name's Eder. So do the people around here. Might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved.
What makes you think I was interested in the dwarf woman? He looks at you a moment, his brow arched, his smirk broadens.
I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. You never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first.
Do you know what a watcher is?
Careful, friend. Let's not use that word round here. Could be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come through these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be. Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense.
You think you're going to be hanged?
The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war.
The war? Saints' War. Only one in my lifetime. Fella decides he's the living incarnation of Eothas. Overthrows this one always gets me. Riedaceres marches on Deerwood, so we gave him a Deerwoodian hello. Who's Eothas? God of rebirth and redemption. Formally, anyhow. Maybe they called him something different where you were from. What's a Deerwoodian hello?
We blew him up.
He smiles at this, but it's a smile of one recounting a joke for effect rather than enjoyment. I had other questions. Why was your headman hanged? Got involved. Radric sent men down here the other day. Said they had it on good authority someone in town was working with Kolsk, plotting Radric's overthrow. Said if he didn't come forward right then and there, they'd hang every last one of us. No one was coming forward, so Swithin, that's my headman, he steps up and says it's him. They took him at his word. He sighs and shakes his head, his eyes fixed on the tree. Bound to happen sooner or later. If not for plotting against Radric, then for protecting me. What does your town have against you?
Picked the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Aethys worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there, that was a temple to him, to give you some idea. Then one day, somebody named Widewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed it. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, and then I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Radric's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing.
Who's Kolsk? Someone who got tired of all the hangings. He's on the run now, probably will be till they catch him. If you're next to be hanged, what are you still doing here? He gives a half smile. Trinking mostly. Point of fact, I'm on my way out. Just haven't figured where I'm going yet. Not a whole lot of places out there that don't think Waden's legacy started with Waidwin. Well, we could travel together. Where are you headed? Some place called Caed Nua. There's an old watcher there who might be able to help me.
Seem to remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before. Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger, and a strange one at that. But, truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree.
There's a fine reason if I ever heard one.
Alright then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. As long as you're not the one picking the sights.
Well, let's get going. So, we got Eder to join us, who's going to move to the front of the
Hope you're not
party.
expecting much.
It looks like 8-Bit can level up, so let's go ahead and level her. She's going to be our mechanics, our trap person. Let's see what she can get. Amplified thrust, area of effect, jump targets, allied target, and then one foe jump target. 3546, mental binding, paralyzed, mind blades. What's the range for this? What's the range for this? 5 plus 3 meters jump. This is 10 plus 10 meters jump. Phantom foes. Leaving them flanked for the duration. Causes experiencing damage all over again. 30% of all damage reapplied over 15 seconds. Oh, that seems really interesting. I think that this is going to be one. 10 resolve for 10 deflection for 26 seconds. And I think I'm going to get amplified thrust. Okay. And last thing I do before we go ahead and end this one is go ahead and level up Aloth. He has pretty high lore. My concern is I don't have anybody with a stealth or survival or anybody with stealth at this point. I'm gonna go ahead. I think that stealth is gonna be key. So I'm gonna start raising his stealth. Okay, for some level 2 stealth spells. What's this? Oh, nice. Temporary increase to current and maximum endurance. I'm looking at the pictures and I'm thinking, that seems really neat. So, what's Rolling Flame? 5 meters jump, creates a rebounding ball of fire, inflicting burn damage. Ray of Fire. Okay. The problem with Ray of Fire is if there's anyone caught in the middle, then they're going to get it too. This is a dot. Perception, Intellect, and Resolve, and Will. That's an AoE as well. Let's see. That's a blind. That's gross. The target's paralyzed, and then there's the AoE is everybody's sickened. Let's see. That's a siphon. That might be good as well. I might take it off of that and put it on the siphon. That's bewildering. I think that's what I'm going to go with this time. Do I get any? Okay. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Unfortunately, this time it was a lot more of lore and not a lot of the action for this episode. But thank you for joining me in this episode of Pillars of Eternity, and I hope that you join me for the next time that we set out, which I'm looking down here, and I think that this is where we're going to go next, down into the basement of these ruins of this temple, or maybe go out exploring to, either over here somewhere or down here, so that we can make our way over to the Cade Nua. So thank you for joining us, and I will see you next time.